The Federation's clowns. The Galactic Federation hall shimmered with bioluminescent walls, pulsating gently in colors meant to soothe the more sensitive alien delegates. For the humans present, it felt like being trapped in a jellyfish. Captain Mara Lynn sat at the far end of the chamber, where Earth's delegation was traditionally assigned, near the ventilation ducts, far from the central speakers. Out of sight, out of mind, she watched as a tall, crystalline being from the Varn Collective floated forward, its voice a blend of chimes and static. And let us now return to the matter of planetary trade route efficiency. Assuming, of course, it said with a condescending glance toward Mara, there are no further interruptions from our more emotional members. Polite chuckles rippled through the chamber. Mara didn't flinch. She was used to it. 20 years. That's how long it had been since humanity had been accepted into the Federation. And accepted was a generous word. In truth, Earth had been tolerated, dismissed as a primitive world with laughable military technology, erratic political systems, and a lifespan too short for serious galactic roles. The Federation's core members, species that lived centuries and evolved on peaceful, communal worlds, found humans exhausting. Too aggressive, too emotional, too unstable. Mara had tried for years to change that perception. Once a decorated fleet commander in Earth space defense. Now she was reduced to giving speeches that were never heard, submitting proposals that were never read. But today, she wasn't here to beg for trade or cultural respect. Today, she had come with a warning. The Outer Rim colonies are falling silent, Mara said, standing abruptly. Her voice cut across the chamber. The hall dimmed slightly in recognition of her speaking, but few turned their heads. Systems along the Perseid expanse. Entire planets. No signals. No debris. No distress calls. Just gone. A hulking Freelac delegate rumbled in annoyance. Pirates, perhaps. Or local instability. Let the patrol fleets handle it. The patrol fleets aren't coming back, Mara replied coldly. She uploaded a set of human intelligence reports to the Federation's shared data stream. Grainy footage, fragments of intercepted transmissions, a single word repeated by a half-broken translator drone. Swarm. The chamber buzzed. A Zentari diplomat fluttered its wings in irritation. And what would humans suggest? Nukes and chaos tactics? You lack the refinement for this stage. Mara stepped forward. Her eyes scanned the room. Not with desperation, but resolve. We may lack your centuries of peace, but we've survived our own horrors. We know what war feels like before it arrives. Another chuckle, another dismissal. But deep in the shadows, an old warrior from the core Dominion leaned forward, mandibles twitching. Mara left the chamber in silence. She didn't expect applause, but she knew this. The galaxy would remember her words. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But soon, because something terrible was coming from the dark, and humanity, mocked, underestimated, and ignored, was the only species that had ever learned to thrive in it. The silence from the stars. The silence was unnatural, not the usual dead zones caused by solar interference or broken relays. This was deliberate, cold, total. Mara Lynn sat in Earth's orbital command hub, watching a 3D map of the Perseid expanse. Entire sectors, once filled with blinking signals from trade routes, mining colonies, and agricultural worlds, were now dark. No beacons, no civilian chatter, no fleet transmissions. Sector E-17 confirmed silent. That's the fourth this week, Lieutenant Saito reported, eyes flicking over the console. Nothing went out. Nothing came back in. Still no response from the Federation? Mara asked, though she already knew the answer. Saito shook his head. They issued a Class 3 threat dismissal. Categorized it as regional instability. Mara ground her teeth. Regional instability didn't make 3 billion population worlds vanish without a trace. This wasn't civil war. It was erasure. At the Federation's central nexus, far from Earth, arguments blazed in a dozen languages. The disappearance of the Rim worlds had forced the Council to acknowledge something was happening. But consensus among 200 species wasn't consensus at all. It was paralysis. The evidence is inconclusive, roared a feathered ambassador from the Talari. No confirmed visual contact. No known enemy. There are reports, said the Core Dominion War Chief, its gravelly voice trembling with old instinct. Refugee ships speak of creatures. Organic vessels. Mindless hives. They do not conquer. They consume. Fear-mongering, scoffed the Varn delegate. Let us not emulate the humans with their obsession with monsters. Still, some were worried. A message had arrived. One lone vessel, human-built, barely intact. Its crew dead. Its AI logs corrupted. Only a final audio message played over and over. They don't speak. They don't stop. They're already here. The swarm. Back on Earth, Mara knew the Federation wasn't going to act in time. They never did. Protocols, committees, votes, none of it mattered when the enemy didn't wait. So humanity acted. She summoned Earth's Defense Council. Her message was grim and direct. We can't stop them alone, but we can slow them down, long enough for the rest of the galaxy to wake up. Operation Hades began that same night. Human fleets deployed into the dark zones, using stealth drives, burst transmissions, and orbital drones. They were not looking to win. They were looking to learn. What they found was worse than Mara imagined. A scouting vessel returned footage. A swarm hive ship, 2 kilometers long, pulsing with bioluminescent sacs, tendrils fused to the remains of once prosperous cities. The ground below was stripped bare, as if life itself had been devoured. Mara watched it in silence. No speeches, no emotion, only purpose. She sent the footage to every Federation world. No words, just the truth. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Council held an emergency vote, with humans at the table. The galaxy's joke had just become its last warning. When Earth burned and fought back, the swarm came at dawn. Not that Earth had many dawns left. Sol System's outer defenses fell within hours. Mars never stood a chance, its orbital stations shredded like paper. The swarm didn't negotiate, didn't transmit demands. It simply tore through everything, ships, stations, people. A wave of chitin, fangs, and biomechanical dread. On Luna, Mara Lin watched the battle unfold through a reinforced viewport. Below her, Earth flickered, cities bracing for the inevitable. Above her, the first swarm hive ship breached inner orbit. Activate the grid, she ordered. A moment later, 10,000 railguns and kinetic cannons hidden across Earth's surface roared to life. Satellites disguised as weather monitors powered up and fired. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes launched from the depths of Earth's oceans. The sky turned white. The hive ship didn't fall gracefully. It buckled, spun, and disintegrated in a firestorm that lit the night across half the globe. But that was just one. More came. In the chaos, humanity didn't break. Civilians formed militia units. Police and firefighters became squad leaders. Old Cold War bunkers opened, distributing weapons and supplies. Entire cities were evacuated in record time using underground maglevs and skyport lifts. Even as orbital defense crumbled, Earth refused to be conquered. They adapted. Human AI launched autonomous drones with kamikaze protocols. Drones too erratic for most alien militaries to tolerate. Fighter pilots flew suicide missions with EMP pulses strapped to their hulls. Swarm hive ships found themselves swarmed instead by fearless, furious defenders with nothing left to lose. It was war as only humans knew it. Mara coordinated the entire operation from the strategic core beneath the Himalayas. Her voice, steady and unshaken, echoed across frequencies shared by soldiers and survivors alike. "We will not surrender," she broadcast. "We will not bow. If we burn, we'll take them with us." And the galaxy watched. Federation worlds received the streams, raw, brutal, unfiltered. Images of human resistance filled alien media nets. Soldiers with missing limbs holding the line. Children loading weapons. Drones dragging the wounded to safety as cities crumbled above them. The Federation had mocked humanity's emotions, their rage, their desperation. Now they saw it as strength. 2 days later, Earth stood, battered but not broken. Of the 7 swarm hive ships that entered Sol System, for were destroyed. The others limped away, damaged and confused. They had expected easy prey. They found predators. On Zarth Prime, the Federation Council reconvened. This time, they didn't laugh. They listened. And for the first time in recorded history, they did something unheard of. They asked for help. Mara Lin, blood-stained and sleep-deprived, was promoted to Supreme Ground Commander of the newly formed Coalition Strike Force. Human veterans began training elite alien units. Earth's tactics, chaotic, asymmetric, fearless, became the standard. The war wasn't over. But the galaxy knew this. Humanity would not go quietly. And if the stars were to fall, humans would go down fighting. Teeth bared, fists clenched, dragging their enemies into hell. From joke to legend, the final battle began at Sirtak, a massive gas giant near the Federation's core territories. If the swarm broke through here, dozens of high-population worlds would fall within weeks. The Council had no illusions. This was the line. And humanity was now standing at the front of it. Captain, now General, Mara Lin paced the bridge of the Coalition command ship Resolution, her eyes locked on the holographic display. Swarm vectors were converging fast. 12 hive ships, hundreds of biological cruisers, and an ocean of spore fighters. Status of the decoy fleet? She asked. Ready and holding pattern, ma'am, replied a core pilot, voice stiff with admiration. Awaiting your command. Mara gave a sharp nod. Send them in. The fleet surged forward. Over 100 derelict ships, scavenged hulls, and drones, all rigged with antimatter warheads and wrapped in coded distress beacons. To the swarm, it looked like prey, panicked ships running blind. The bait worked. Hive minds, arrogant in their relentless hunger, moved to intercept. Mara waited until the last possible moment. Detonate. The void lit up. A white inferno erupted across the battle line as antimatter tore through vacuum, rupturing swarm carapaces and ripping hive ships apart. 3 were obliterated instantly. 2 more spun out of control, leaking burning biomass into orbit. The Coalition fleet charged through the smoke, squadrons from Earth, the Core Dominion, Talari carriers, and even once neutral Varn crystalline warships. Species that had barely spoken to each other were now fighting as one. And at the center of it all were the humans, leading every suicidal charge. On the ground, urban combat raged in the floating city of Narthis 9. Human commandos, trained in Earth's brutal close-quarters warfare, moved through corridors alongside insectoid core warriors and feathered Talari scouts. They shared rations, covered each other's flanks, died side by side. The Federation had once scorned human emotions. Now it depended on them. Hope, defiance, rage, and unity. After 12 grueling hours, the swarm fell back. It had never encountered resistance like this before, unpredictable, adaptive, terrifyingly determined. Where other species retreated, humans stood their ground. Where others panicked, humans innovated mid-fight. Sirtak was saved. The war was far from over. But something fundamental had shifted. Underscore. Months later, the Federation High Council met in solemn ceremony. Mara Lin stood at the center, flanked by representatives from every major species. We once called humans irrational, the Varn delegate admitted. Unstable, loud, reckless. She looked at Mara. And now, we call them our shield. A statue of a human soldier was unveiled on the capital world of Zenthra. A soldier, scarred and battered, holding a burning flag in one hand and an alien child in the other. Beneath it, a single inscription. They laughed at Earth. Now, they sing its name. In a quiet chamber far from the crowds, a journalist asked Mara one final question. How did humanity survive what others couldn't? Mara smiled. Not proud, just tired. We didn't survive because we were better, she said. We survived because we were ready to do what no one else would. She paused. And next time, God help whatever comes for us. Because now, The galaxy stands with Earth.